Hi everyone, Coach Nate here, November 2nd, 2022. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about the ketogenic diet, something you've probably all heard of. We're going to be talking a little bit about the long-term effects. So if you're following a low-carb diet for, let's say, 12 months to longer, what some of those long-term effects may be, and might actually be a little bit of a concern for you, maybe something you want to speak with your medical practitioner about. One thing I want to make sure that I get across in this video is I am not 100% against the ketogenic diet. In fact, I think it can be beneficial for individuals, and I've had clients that have got on a keto diet. You'll probably hear me reference it as keto, that way, short form, for about 3 to 6 months. I think that's the sweet spot if we're going to be following a low-carb diet. But I want to get into some of the literature, why maybe you might want to think about keeping it around 3 to 6 months, and what some of the consequences might be if you're following it long-term. So let's get right into the literature here. I was going through it already, and I just wanted to point out a couple of the more important points here. But I think, just to quickly go over what it is in case you don't know, we'll just go over it very, very quickly. All right, but again, low carbohydrates, 30 grams of carbs to 50 grams, all right, 50 grams max per day. So it's definitely restrictive in carbohydrates. It's high protein and high fat. That's where most of your calories are going to come from. Very popular, all right, so a very popular diet, and still increasing in popularity to this day. And that doesn't really come as a surprise to me, because I do a lot of consultations with individuals, and I think in 95% of my consultations, there's either a keto discussion or intermittent fasting in keto. So not surprising to me that it's still increasing in popularity. Now we see in the literature, specifically, all right, it's popular amongst individuals who are looking to lose weight. All right, and we see some studies where you can have significant weight loss, or especially in severely obese individuals or people who are overweight. All right, that's where a lot of the studies kind of look at. So people who are obese, very, very popular, and they're looking for a boost in weight loss. And usually, not always, but that tends to be the reason why they get on the ketogenic diet or start learning about it in the first place. All right, now popularity comes. All right, we're having fewer calories. All right, so we're taking out a whole macronutrient. We're taking out carbohydrates, replacing that just with fat and protein. So fewer calories, less spikes in both glucose, all right, and insulin we should have there. I think maybe I mentioned it lower here. All right, since our calories are coming from just protein and fat sources. So less spikes in glucose. Some studies show that lower insulin levels can lead to significant weight loss quickly. And again, that's why it's popular. That's why a lot of my clients want to get on keto or are interested in keto. So we see that it's still very, very, very popular. Now, looking at a journal article here from the New England Journal of Medicine, right, titled "A Low Carbohydrate as Compared with a Low Fat Diet in Severe Obesity." All right, now, low fat diet, something that I am not a huge fan of. All right, we need fats, obviously, for good hormone regulation. All right, carbohydrates you can drop a little bit, but you want to make sure that you're getting your daily adequate of healthy fats. All right, we talked a little bit about omega-3 fatty acids in my next stream. All right, we're going to talk a little bit about omega-3 fatty acids. All right, but of course, we need to remember that cutting calories will equal weight loss. If you're below maintenance. All right, so whatever your maintenance level is, you take your BMR, your basal metabolic rate, you add in, you take that, all right, combine your activity level, you get your TDEE, so your total daily energy expenditure, right? And then that's going to be how many calories you can eat and show you your maintenance levels, all right? So thermodynamics, calories in versus calories out. So a lot of that weight loss, all right, we can just attribute to us eating below maintenance. All right, now, do we need keto for that? For some, we do. All right, for others, I'd say the majority, probably not. Now, may be beneficial, especially for individuals with pre-diabetes or type 2 diabetes. All right, that's another reason why a lot of people are getting on it, and why I think a 3 to 6 month window for keto could be beneficial for some individuals. Also, for metabolic syndrome, right? We're seeing that in the research. Now, also, the research is showing that it may be able to improve insulin sensitivity, all right, so very important, all right, and also lower triglyceride levels in the body. Now, there's some conflicting data here, all right, which we're going to get into as well, and some other studies that are being done, some more recent studies, which we'll make sure to point out here. But a lot of people getting onto it, to improve insulin sensitivity, which is huge these days, also to lower triglyceride levels, all right. Lastly, reduce blood sugar and insulin, of course. Insulin, again, being the big one. All right, also blood sugar. I have a couple clients, that are dealing with high blood sugar right now, so we have a lot of discussions with that. I think the main takeaway, all right, and why most people are getting on keto, I mentioned it a little bit at the beginning, it's to boost weight loss, all right, boost weight loss, reduce appetite. You're going to feel more full, all right, and the reason why you're going to feel more full or more satiated is protein and fat are your main calorie sources, all right? And so that's going to keep us satiated a lot more, all right, than carbohydrates, all right? We can burn through especially simple carbohydrates where you get that spike in glucose and insulin. A lot of the times that's going to lead to a crash. You're going to feel more hungry because of it. Now, also, all right, it can help control and improve diabetes and metabolic syndrome, all right? So those are two, again, of the more important reasons why individuals are getting on a keto diet or thinking about getting on a low carb diet here. Personally, like I said, all right, so I made sure to highlight this. Personally, I'm a fan of being on a true ketogenic diet, all right, so where you're keeping your carbohydrates at 50 grams, all right, none of this carb cycling. So a lot of people will go 2, maybe 3 days with keeping their carbohydrates low. And then after those 2 to 3 days, have a high day of carbohydrates. If you're doing that, you're taking yourself out of ketosis, right? And you really aren't following a ketogenic diet, all right? So for about 3 to 6 months, okay? Now, review of the literature, long-term effects of low-carb ketogenic diets, all right? So LCDs here, all right, just stands for low-carb diets, all right? Keto diet. So one, we just want to point out that too much fat, and we see this in the literature, and I'm going to show you the studies below, too much fat can raise the risk of chronic disease. Right? We see in numerous studies that those individuals who follow long-term low carbohydrate diets can cause complications to the heart and arteries, right? Now we see a very interesting article here from 2019 coming from the Journal of the American College of Cardiology. All right, I found this one to be very interesting, so I'll probably link this one down below here, guys. All right, so we found in this one, it was called, all right, I'll read the name to you. All right, I think the information is more important than the title, to be honest. All right, U-shaped relationship between carbohydrate intake proportion and incident atrial fibrillation. All right, so the important one there is atrial fibrillation. Now, this was a great study, 14,000 participants almost, or I think it was 100 off or something like that, so our N value was 14,000. It's a great study. The conclusion of this study was that restriction of carbohydrates increases AFib, so atrial fibrillation, all right, prevalence in individuals with low and moderate carbohydrate intake. Okay, so it's increasing the risk of the prevalence of atrial fibrillation. All right, so why is that important to point out? Well, AFib, all right, increases the risk of, all right, so what are we increasing the risk here of, guys, if we're following a low carbohydrate diet for, long term? We're increasing the risk of, 1, stroke, heart failure, blood clots, all right, and more listed in that. We could go on and on here. All right, very important to make sure that we're understanding that, guys. All right, so again, heart health and arteries. Now, another 2018 study in Lancet, okay, again, dietary carbohydrate intake and mortality here. Should say mortality, to be honest with you. A prospective cohort study and meta-analysis. Right now, found, all right, this very interesting article again found that large amounts of meat and dairy had a higher risk of early death compared to those who consume carbs in moderation. All right, so keep that in mind, guys, all right, because one of the major things that's pointed out in these types of studies, if we're lowering carbs, we're taking out fruit, we're taking out some vegetables, all right? So we're losing antioxidants, we're losing anti-inflammatory compounds, all right? We're losing vital nutrients like, your vitamins, minerals, all right? You could list any number of those depending on what fruits, vegetables, whole grains you're consuming. So, that was a very interesting article as well. Now, another one from 2019 from the European Heart Journal, right? Lower carbohydrate diets and all cause, right? And cause specific mortality, right? So mortality. Must have autocorrect here, right? Because this should be mortality here. Unfavorable, all right? And this was the big takeaway. Unfavorable, all right? And associated of low-calorie diets with overall and cause-specific mortality rates, guys. All right, so again, not looking too favorable for our low-carbohydrate diets when it comes to all-cause and cause-specific mortality rates. And we'll get into some of those reasons why below. We'll see the risk factors that we're putting ourselves at if we're following low-carbohydrate diets. Now, again, another thing that we want to point out is there's studies that show a difference between short and long-term low-carbohydrate diets. All right, we previously mentioned what some of them was. Could be fixing or reducing the risk or reversing prediabetes or type 2 diabetes. All right, but we see some difference. All right, that comes in the short term. That's why I was saying 3 to 6 months. All right, from long term, 12 months or over, or for a number of different years. All right, we see that numerous studies show that long-term ketogenic diets can actually increase bad LDL cholesterol. All right, of course, we want to be lowering bad LDL cholesterol, not to zero, all right, but to healthy levels. This is increasing it to increasing bad LDL cholesterol to unhealthy levels. All right, the results of low carbohydrate diets or ketogenic diets being high in saturated fats and trans fats. So the reason why, all right, we're seeing that, we're seeing that increase in bad LDL cholesterol is because low carbohydrate diets or ketogenic diet, all right, is going to often be higher in saturated and trans fats. All right, and that comes from the Journal of Endocrinol. All right, so a very interesting one there. Now, I found this journal to be especially interesting when it comes to the long-term effects of following low-carbohydrate diets. Most important one, you've heard of it, ketogenic diet, right? Coming from 2021, all right, so very recent, all right? So a new review in Frontiers in Nutrition, all right? The section being clinical nutrition here, all right? Again, I list these so you can go and look at them yourselves, all right? And I'll just read the title of this one: Ketogenic Diets and Chronic Disease. All right, weighing the benefits against the risks. All right, and I think that's what this whole video is about. All right, weighing the benefits against the risks when it comes to ketogenic diets. All right, and this is why I like the 3 to 6 months. So I put here, it's a great meta-analysis. So what happened here, right, we had physicians, registered dietitians, and researchers, all right, analyzed more than 100 peer-reviewed studies of keto diets and identifying the long-term effects of those studies, all right, and of following a ketogenic diet. Now, what was found, all right, from that analysis of 100 peer-reviewed studies, all right, by, again, physicians or doctors, registered dietitians, and other researchers, we found that individuals following low-carb, carbohydrate diets significantly increased the risk of developing, right, heart disease, LDL cholesterol buildup, kidney failure, which makes sense because, of course, if you're eating an excess of protein, all right, that's harder for the kidneys, all right, to break down. Alzheimer's disease, all right, surprising because sometimes, all right, you'll hear that some of the benefits of a ketogenic diet is that it can actually help to reduce Alzheimer's disease, all right. cancer, all right, increases, and even diabetes, all right? Diabetes. All right, so we have here excess stress on the kidneys. Of course, that was pointed out here why kidney disease, kidney failure increased. All right, now that was our studies. All right, a lot of interesting things. All right, a lot of interesting information out there. A lot of studies on the long-term effects now of following a low-carb diet like the ketogenic diet. All right, now here's kind of my own philosophy and take on it, and we'll end with it here, guys. All right, working with a number of clients, talking with you guys, and doing live streams. All right, is the keto diet even viable? All right, is it even viable as a long-term solution for the majority? For the majority of individuals, there's always exceptions. There's always people who are going to love the ketogenic diet. All right. For the majority of my clients, all right, and like I said, I've worked with maybe hundreds of clients right now. All right, not right now, but throughout the years, maybe more. All right, the majority of them, all right, did not enjoy the keto diet. All right, so the question becomes, all right, is it even viable as a long-term solution? The people who had the best, results, all right, but were also able to follow the ketogenic diet were those individuals trying to follow it for 3 to 6 months. All right, and that's why I'm sticking with that. I did 3 months last January. Right, and I was able to just squeak out those 3 months. I saw some benefits. Like I said, I am not opposed to a ketogenic diet or a low carbohydrate diet. We're just looking at the information here. I'm giving you the research that's out there. And now my own take on it, working with my clients and with my own experience and my experience working with those clients. All right, it's very hard to stay on. All right, and again, this is the majority of people. Very hard to stay on for an extended period of time. Again, you're only allowed 50 grams of carbohydrates max per day. All right. It could be lower for some individuals depending on how many calories they eat per day, because usually you want to stay at about 10% or below of your calories coming from carbohydrates. Right? If you're, 5'1", 100 pounds, all right, it's probably going to be lower than 50 grams. Any cheat meal, all right, so any meal where you're having like pasta, pizza, anything like that, which, with my clients, I think that's a healthy thing to do. The 90-10 rule, 85-15 rule, make sure you're following a healthy diet 90% of the time. 10%, you can live a little bit, right, guys? So your cheat meal, fruit, complex carbohydrates, which have, again, tons of nutrients in and of themselves, all right, can take you out of ketosis immediately. Therefore, you will no longer be following a ketogenic diet. Okay, so it's very restrictive in that sense, all right, and very hard to follow, because if you have a banana, all right, followed with some blueberries, or let's say one slice of bread and a banana, most likely you're going to be going out of ketosis, all right, so very, very tough to stay on. So we have restrictive here, very restrictive. I always tell people, if they want to follow a ketogenic diet, are you willing, all right, to not have a banana in your smoothie, all right? Or adding, blueberries. Sometimes they'll have blueberries and a third of a cup or half a cup of oatmeal, or even just pasta, or breads, any type of breads, whole wheat bread, other complex like sweet potatoes. Well, those are some of my favorites. Sweet potatoes. Are you going to be able to keep out those complex carbohydrates? All right, cut out some fruits and certain vegetables. All right, that's a lot for most people. All right, so for most individuals, all right, cutting out fruits, all right, and certain vegetables, I'm trying to get them just to eat vegetables, all right, and start eating healthy. All right, so sometimes the message can kind of get lost. All right, once it becomes so restrictive, the relationship with food can become a little bit blurred. All right, we want them eating fruits, we want them eating lots of vegetables. All right, they just gotta make sure that they're doing that. So if they're having to watch certain vegetables, it makes it a little bit tougher. All right, this can lead us to lose vital nutrients. All right, vitamins, minerals, like I mentioned before, antioxidants, anti-inflammatory compounds, and a big one, fiber. All right, now you can still get fiber in a ketogenic diet, but if we're giving up things like beans, all right, legumes, all right, makes it even tougher to get in fiber. Now, the other thing, the last thing here, which we'll end on, once you start cheating, so having those cheat meals or adding some of the carbohydrates back in, or fruits, right? Adding those foods back in may lead to weight gain, right? So you have to stay the course. You have to stay within that 50 grams of carbohydrates. And again, that can be very, very tough for most individuals. So that's the literature, guys. That's some food for thought. Again, not against ketogenic diet or anything like that. I think the best diet is the one that works for you, the one that you can maintain, and the one that you can achieve your goals with. All right, I think that's the best one. I just wanted to give you guys something to think about if you're thinking about going on the ketogenic diet, what some of the long-term effects may be. Maybe some current concerns you might need to think about going on a long-term LCD, low-carb diet. Right? And then you can make that decision for yourself or speak with your medical practitioner. So thank you so much for watching, guys. I hope you found the video useful, valuable. If you did, drop a like down below. Subscribe, of course. Right? And we also have our Fit Team members. All right, so joining as a Fit Team member really helps out the channel. So I hope you guys are enjoying these new format videos. Going to be doing this on live stream. Again, thank you so much for watching. Take care.